The story opens with the main character hearing someone call him in a discontented voice, telling him that the lady from the Xiao family was already waiting outside the door. Tio sat on the sofa, looking ahead, dressed in a servant's outfit. The old man, clearly displeased, asked the guy whether he had gone completely deaf. Xiang looked down at his body and noticed that he was wearing a plain, dull suit. An old man named Lingyu Xiang stood nearby. He was the CEO of the Lingyu Corporation. He demanded that the boy come out immediately and greet the guest. The system notified the host that he had just been assaulted by his own grandfather. It then informed him that he was now inside the novel world of Mad Marriage, Chapter 35. In this story, Chong was the antagonist of Ling Hukin, and there were only 5 chapters left before he would go offline. The protagonist's primary mission now was to survive. Chong told himself that surviving even 5 chapters would be either generous or cruel. With full force, Chong swung his hand and struck the guy on the head. The old man insisted once more that the boy go and greet Miss Xia. Rising from the sofa, the guy told his grandfather that he understood. The girl waved politely at Mr. Lingyu and greeted him. The guy responded with a greeting in return. Chong pondered, trying to recall how much time had passed since he entered this book world. The main character closed his eyes and sank into memories. He remembered how it all began, with a catastrophe on a city street. Buildings began to shake violently from a massive earthquake. Cracks spread along the walls and entire structures began collapsing. A large sign fell off a building due to the tremors. A voice from the system announced that the guy had been connected to the Rise of Villains program. From that moment onward, he began traveling between different novels. In each one, his role was to act as a dying antagonist and survive. The ultimate objective was to return with enough accumulated rewards. There had been successes for Chong, but failures were far more frequent. He encountered a protagonist who possessed cheating abilities. The player laughed and hurled a large energy projectile toward his opponent. The guy extended his arm, attempting to defend himself. An explosion echoed. The fighter frantically waved his arms, trying to shield himself from the incoming blasts. He shouted to his enemy that such attacks were unfair. A man in a soldier's uniform looked at his opponent and quietly said that the king was catching those projectiles with his bare hands. Looking forward, the soldier shouted with rage, commanding him to stop. A tremendous explosion followed. The guy turned back in fear, only to be pierced through on a hillside by the warrior's sword. The main character thought that sometimes one might encounter a peerless immortal who strikes straight at the heart without uttering a single word. As he closed his eyes, the main character understood that this time something had to be different. The system then informed him that the synchronization with the novel was now complete and he needed to give it his best. Standing at the hotel entrance, Chong noticed other guards stationed around. He looked ahead attentively, thinking that the story was approaching the part where the protagonist kidnaps the bride. Just then, a car door opened and a girl stepped out. The guy reached out and helped her exit. Xia Churan, the eldest daughter of the Xia family, had arrived. Next to her stood Jiang Bashuan, the male lead of the crazy marriage novel. Walking with his girlfriend, Jiang kept his gaze fixed straight ahead. The main character watched and sensed an overwhelming strength from him. Jiang instructed the girl to proceed and offered to carry her bag. The protagonist remembered that he was the youngest son of the Lingyu family named KH. Holding flowers in his hand, the guy told the girl cheerfully that he felt happy, free, and light as a feather. Xia, displeased, responded that he was unwell. Turning to the side, the main character noticed Jiang Bin, the Dragon King of Sand City, standing nearby. At present, Jiang's main role was to act as Xia Churan's bodyguard. CIO declared with authority that a bodyguard always appears at the right place and the right time. The main character believed that, in this novel, Jiang was the unshakable center and absolute leader who possessed every essential quality. Looking at the man across from him, the protagonist realized he didn't particularly like him. Xia turned to her companion and asked him to help with her bag. The main character watched the departing girl. He had given everything to her. His devotion, his resources, all for the sake of the Xia family. Yet it was only Jiang who lived in her heart. There were still 5 chapters left in the book, but it might not be enough to shift Xia's feelings away from Jiang. This novel catered to a male audience where the protagonist wins over all the women. Such a story seemed destined for an unhappy ending. He would need to wait for the next book. Still, the main character vowed inwardly that even if beaten to death, he would endure. Aloud, he told the girl that he had something to say. Xia froze. She turned around on her own and told the boy that she also had something to say. The main character told her to speak. He already suspected what she would say. The girl told him firmly that she would never agree to this engagement. She explained that even if his family made an offer to her father, she would not accept. Xiang responded calmly, saying that he wouldn't agree either. The girl insisted that she could never fall for someone like him. Xia suddenly looked shocked and stared at the guy in fear. Xiang told her that he wanted to break off the engagement. The girl was stunned to hear such a thing from him. Xiang glared at the guy, asking suspiciously what schemes he was plotting. Xia, irritated, asked her companion what he was trying to do. She pointed at the main character and told him flatly that she didn't believe him. The main character, flustered, signaled to his companions to remain calm. He explained to Xia in a composed tone that he was not scheming anything. Xia told him that she had seen enough, he wouldn't be able to fool her. Qin glanced at the girl, thinking bitterly that she only wanted to be part of Zhang's harem while he, on the other hand, was stuck playing the loyal dog. Xiang thought angrily that he had been blinded by everything he had learned. He concluded that the foolish girl would end up getting slammed by the door on her way out. Xia looked around in surprise, confused about who had spoken to her. She looked around again, clearly displeased. She couldn't figure out who would dare call her stupid. The main character told the displeased woman not to overestimate herself. Chan explained to the girl that they would inform the elders they never agreed to an engagement. Zhang glared at the main character with great anger but remained silent. Chang then turned sharply and walked off to the side. The system notified the owner that there was an error in the data transmission interface. His thoughts were now capable of being transmitted to the characters in the book. The main character realized that he couldn't report the system error, or it would trigger formatting. Then, the system informed the owner that the error had been fixed. From now on, only his complaints and curses would be transmitted. Xiang thought about it and recalled that, according to the plot of the novel, he had provoked Zhang by kidnapping his woman, which led to a tragic ending. Happily, the main character decided that if he didn't get engaged to Sha Qiran, Zhang would have no reason to attack him. Xiang cheerfully said to himself that surviving 5 chapters would be easy. The main character walked to the door and informed his companions that they had arrived. Xia told her friend not to follow her inside and to wait outside instead. Zhang watched his girlfriend with interest and anticipation. Xia couldn't stop thinking about what she had heard from the main character. Chan was surprised when the girl asked Zhang to stay outside and wait for her. Turning around, the main character noticed with surprise that Zhang didn't seem angry. He entered the room and approached the old man, who was seated on the sofa. Xiang pointed at the girl and informed the old man that he had brought Mrs. Xia with him. The old man welcomed the guests and told the young man he could simply call her Qiran. Grandfather then told the main character to pour a drink for Qiran. Tio thought to himself that he couldn't allow himself to become attached to the most beautiful girl in the city. He needed her to break off the engagement so he could finish the novel. Xiao turned her head slightly. She realized she had heard Ling Huqin's voice. The girl thought she could endure the guy's insults but couldn't understand why he assumed she was part of the Buin harem. Zhang reassured his mistress that there was nothing to fear, even if 10 more people came after them. The girl began to think of Zhang as her bodyguard. He had saved her once, and she trusted him. The main character stepped forward and handed the girl a cup of tea. Xia couldn't figure out what the Buin had to do with anything and assumed someone must be spreading rumors. The old man looked aside, clearly surprised, wondering why everyone was acting so reserved. Suddenly, Xia jumped from her chair and shouted that she disagreed. She explained to her grandfather that she had no feelings for Lingen and wanted to marry someone she truly loved. The main character raised a finger and said that forcing people would only lead to trouble. The engagement had to be cancelled. Xiao turned her head in shock, struggling to believe that he was saying all of this seriously. A man then stepped up and told the main character that he and the girl would be getting married for sure. Tio stated that Miss Xiao had always been mature, and since childhood he had admired her wisdom and poise. The young man replied that Xiran had refused to marry him. Xia screamed fearfully that he would never marry the girl. Xia was confused by how the guy's attitude had changed so drastically. Just yesterday he had written her a 5,000-word essay. The man looked at the boy and asked if he intended to stay by Xiran's side without formalities. Xiang extended a hand to the man, saying that he truly understood the business side of things. The man turned to the girl and insisted that this marriage had to happen. The main character dropped to his knees in front of the man, declaring that the engagement should be cancelled. Tio, in his mind, pleaded with the girl to refuse the marriage. She looked at the main character thoughtfully and with interest. Then the girl suddenly extended her hand to him and said she understood everything. She glanced softly at the guy and said she knew where the conversation was leading. She didn't want to marry. She looked at the boy once more and commented that he had changed his mind. Then she let go of his clothes and said that if feelings didn't exist, they could be created. The girl turned to the man with a gentle expression and said that she was willing to go through with the marriage. The main character was stunned by her words. It felt like a bolt of lightning had hit him. Chio thought to himself that she was at the final stage of idiocy. Out loud, he advised Xia not to force herself. The main character wished he could slap his girlfriend hard enough to make sparks fly from her eyes. But instead, he explained that this was all orchestrated by her parents and the matchmakers. Chang placed her hand on the guy's shoulder and asked if he didn't like her anymore. The main character replied that he certainly did like her. Then he stared at her angrily, thinking that he wanted to crack her head open. Xia looked at her friend with curiosity and thought he was being overly dramatic. Slightly to herself, the girl thought the main character should just listen to her. She said to herself that everything about this situation was strangely alluring. Chang took the guy's hand and led him away. The main character took her hand and said they needed to talk. Without looking back, Tio told his uncle and grandfather that they'd be stepping out. The old man smiled and said the young couple could go. The man also told them they should talk privately. The main character quickly entered the next room and asked the girl what all of this was about. Xiang turned to him and said it wasn't too late to break off the engagement. Xiao questioned why she should cancel it. The girl explained that the union was arranged by their families and that she couldn't just refuse it. Xiang reminded her that she once said she would only marry someone she truly loved. Xia eagerly pointed out that she had always treated him with disdain. The girl thought for a moment and said she didn't currently like anyone, but that things might change after marriage. The main character grew frightened. Mentally, he cried out that if she started liking him, he'd be doomed. Zhang would never forgive him. The girl couldn't understand why the main character kept thinking about Zhang Guanshu. She knew her friend was the young master of one of the 4 great families and didn't understand why he feared some bodyguard. The main character slammed his hand against the wall beside her and asked furiously if she was refusing. Xia replied that she wasn't. Then she angrily demanded to know what he planned to do about all of this. The upset Chang stood in the banquet hall where many guests had gathered. The man realized there was nothing he could do about it. One guest raised his glass of wine and shouted that the young couple's engagement deserved a celebration. The crowd joyfully began to offer congratulations to the guy and the girl. Xia and Chan stood on the stage together. One girl whispered to her friend that the union between the Ling and Xia families was a terrifying one. June stood silently, listening intently. Someone nearby mentioned rumors that the Xia girl didn't actually like the Ling family's young man. The security guard stood off to the side, holding a glass in his hand, glaring angrily at the girl. The man clenched his hand with such force that the glass shattered into pieces. In a furious tone, Zhang declared his objection to the man. Uncle Xia looked at the guard with a puzzled expression and asked who he was. Zhang looked back coldly and told him to take a closer look. Uncle Xia stared at the man with great interest, trying to remember who exactly stood before him. The people in the crowd murmured with curiosity, eager to find out who was confronting Uncle Xia. After a brief pause, the man cheerfully told the crowd that he was his daughter's bodyguard. Uncle Xia turned to the guy and asked why he had chosen this moment to speak out. The guests around them were shocked. They couldn't understand how a bodyguard dared to object to the engagement of the young lady. The main character was upset. He realized that the guests were only adding more fuel to the fire. The man shouted angrily at the guard that he was fired and told him to eat well, since from now on all he'd be doing was polishing shoes. Xiang smiled faintly and said he had spoken up for the sake of his daughter. The guard then asked the man if he truly believed his daughter's marriage should be left up to him. Xiao turned to her friend, realizing that the guy was just an arrogant fool. The man standing on the stage said with irritation that he had no intention of conversing with a dismissed bodyguard. He demanded that someone remove the guy from the room immediately. Xiang looked around and noticed 2 guards walking up to him. The guy stretched out his arms and challenged them to send 10 men if needed. The man responded that everything would be done as he wished. More guards appeared from the side. One of the fighters rushed at high speed toward Xiang. Jen calmly watched the incoming fighter and then threw him aside with a powerful blow. With strong strikes, the guy took down another fighter. The guards stood in a circle, watching closely. One guard turned to another and said they needed to attack the man all at once. The fighters suddenly charged from all directions, closing in on Xiang. He swung his arm and began to repel the oncoming attackers. With sweeping blows, he struck the guards, sending them flying in all directions. The main character felt scared. He realized he might be the next target of the bodyguard's fury. Xiao clapped enthusiastically and told Blonde that he had incredible strength. Calmly, the main character explained the situation to the guard, trying to clear up the misunderstanding. Xiang, smiling, told the guy not to worry. He promised that Xiao Cheran would absolutely not marry him. Xiang remained silent, gazing straight ahead without saying a word. The people in the crowd spoke amongst themselves, surprised by the bodyguard's actions. The guy listened closely and overheard someone say that Ling was a rich, refined man, but this bodyguard had nothing. He stood quietly next to the bodyguard, observing the crowd with focus. Xiang's anger boiled over. He exclaimed that all of this was truly treacherous. The main character was stunned. He had no idea what was going on in the story. Xiang thought to himself that the audience should be sympathizing with the hero and despising the villain. Xiang looked at the bodyguard with disdain, not understanding why he didn't just grab Xiao Charan and leave. From the side, the main character assumed the bodyguard was just standing there foolishly. The girl lounging on the sofa thought that Lingen looked calm, but deep down, he was like a rabid dog. The bodyguard declared that he didn't care about anyone else. As long as the girl was happy, he would never regret his actions. Slowly, the bodyguard stepped toward his mistress. Xiang bowed to her and said he wouldn't allow anyone to force her into a marriage. Watching from the side, Chang thought that Zhang Bashuan was a true knight. Mentally, the main character urged Xiang to take Xia for himself. The girl looked irritated at her bodyguard and said that he was getting on her nerves. The main character was stunned. He couldn't understand why she looked so dissatisfied. Xia looked to the side, clearly displeased. The bodyguard decided to approach her. He gently took her hand and asked, with a hint of fear, if she was truly planning to run away. Xia stared straight ahead with discontent. She clearly didn't like Zhang being near her. The girl turned to the guy angrily and demanded to know why he thought she wanted to go with him. Xiao turned on the main character, glaring at him angrily. The bodyguard was stunned when the girl turned away and walked off. Zhang clenched his fist tightly, furious that his girlfriend had left him. Gio assumed that if she left with Zhang Bi, she would become part of his harem. The girl looked at the guy and realized that she had guessed his thoughts. From the side, the bodyguard called the girl's name sternly. Zhang grabbed his girlfriend's arm and asked whether she truly feared that Chang would hurt her or ruin her future. The main character questioned his opponent, asking why he had come so close, thinking the bodyguard intended to beat him. Zhang turned to the main character and warned him not to even consider laying a finger on the girl. Chang, trembling, explained to his companion that everything had been a misunderstanding. The girlfriend firmly told the main character to step aside. With his back to the girl, the guard said that she didn't want to see the main character but was forcing herself to do so. She yelled at her friend that she would never go with him. The guy clutched the girl's hand and said that the Ling family would surely seek revenge against him. Xia was shocked. She looked at him in complete confusion. The girl gave up. She couldn't follow Zhang's reasoning at all. The main character told her that her silence was a sign of consent. He believed she truly feared the Ling family's revenge. Zhang told his friend she was kind and thoughtful. He couldn't understand how she ended up in the hands of such monsters. The bodyguard turned back and glared at the main character with hatred. She thought to herself in terror that everything was unfolding exactly like a scene from the novel. The main character looked at the girl with a burning gaze. In his mind, he called her a despicable woman. Shu looked at his frightened girlfriend and angrily thought that she was trying so hard just to kill him. The girl looked at the furious Ling Huqin with dissatisfaction. She decided that he had completely lost his mind. A man approached from the side and shouted to Zhang that he was no longer needed here. Ling Huqin could be the only son-in-law. The main character thought with fear that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Chang carefully looked at the man's back and thought that he was using the same trick to deceive people. The bodyguard angrily told his companion that he was letting his daughter marry a worthless man. He asked if that man was truly the girl's father. Zhang turned around and told the girl that he didn't need anyone but her. Xia explained that she had no intention of going anywhere. The girl got angry. She couldn't understand why her bodyguard didn't grasp such simple words. Zhang said that she was very timid and promised he would come back for her soon. The main character asked the man in surprise if he was really leaving now. The bodyguard turned and told him this wasn't the end. He swore he would take Chen's life. Zhang pointed at the people in the hall and said that they demean others while elevating themselves. The bodyguard glared at the crowd and declared that all of them would bow before him. Zhang felt scared because the bodyguard was already leaving. He begged him to stay and reconsider. The main character rushed to his opponent and said he must find a way to escape with Xiao Chuan. The bodyguard replied that he would stay true to his word and take his girlfriend. Qing looked at the girl with excitement. He thought that if the bodyguard took Xia now, he wouldn't need to come back later. The girl closed her eyes, clearly dissatisfied, listening to the boys argue beside her. She looked at the guys she knew and thought that she was already tired of them. The girl shouted angrily at the boys, telling them to stop. The boys fell silent. At that moment, Xia reached out and grabbed the main character's clothes. The girl kissed the main character. A guard nearby watched in surprise. Chong was utterly frightened by his girlfriend's unexpected kiss. He didn't even have time to say a word. Xia told the displeased guard to leave. She only loved Ling Huqin. The guy became furious. He wasn't ready to let go of his girlfriend. Chong realized the girl was deeply confused. He didn't know how he could save her. Zhang looked at the main character with anger and said he must bankrupt the Lingyu company. The main character was frightened when he heard such words from the bodyguard. The system congratulated the owner for completing the task. Xiao Chuan would help him hold out for 5 more chapters. The main character received a villa on the shore of a 600-meter-wide lake for completing the task. He dropped to his knees and happily thought that he had 9 zeros in his account and didn't need a villa. The main character lay on the bed in his new house, holding a glass in his hand. Chong told himself that the old man's birthday celebration had ended, and he now had a few days of rest. He closed his eyes joyfully, unsure of what to say to the system. The system cheerfully informed the owner that the second part of the plot would begin today. According to the novel's storyline, Xiao and Lingyu were forced into a marriage alliance. Xiao invited the newlyweds to a banquet. The celebration was hosted by the CEO of Diha Company, Tang Yunju, Sha Zhuang's uncle. He was already old and sick. Many people wanted to gain Tang's favor. Lingyu also wanted to win Tang's support. The main character brought a remarkable doctor to help the old man. Xiang created a real sensation at the banquet. He obtained a copy of the sacred healing scripture and achieved success. Zhang Bashuan's amazing hands allowed Tang to witness a true medical miracle. The old man jumped up from his wheelchair and declared he was healed. The main character felt deeply disappointed by the event. Due to this incident, Lingyu Tang lost the strongest support from the Yue family, leading to his eventual downfall. The old man demanded that De Wang never see his son-in-law again. Chong and the old man were terrified upon hearing those words. The main character angrily said that today was the most fitting day to attend the banquet. He told the system in a sorrowful tone that Zhang Bashuan had already mastered the Holy Scriptures. It meant he had to brace himself for a beating. The system reminded the owner not to forget about his mission. The main character would return, and he had to survive. Suddenly, the door flew open, and a stranger ran inside. He called out to the Khan. The guest shouted to the main character that today was the old man's banquet, and he had to move out. The main character excitedly said that Ho Chong had appeared in front of him. The system told the owner that Ho Chong was also known as the king of provocations. The system warned that being near Ho increased the risk of death by 50%. The main character looked at the guest and thought he had to get rid of him. Chong placed a hand on the guy's shoulder and said he didn't need a bodyguard who was headed to America to become a stock trader for the Lingyu family. The guy picked up his bags and walked toward the exit, saying he didn't know anything. The main character told him to believe in himself and call himself the best. He saw him off near the plane. Ho flew away, stunned, unable to believe that he truly was the best. On the ground, the main character raised his hand and shouted to his friend that he was the best. Kong happily told himself that he felt calmer after getting rid of Ho. The main character looked at his watch and noticed the banquet was about to begin. People started arriving at the building, climbing the stairs. It was a family-run hotel. A car stopped, and a guy stepped out, walking toward the entrance. Chong adjusted his tie and decided to contact the girl by phone. The guy called and told Chong that he had arrived. He decided to wait for his girlfriend. Cho remembered that he was already engaged to a girl and could now call her Chong. The girl got out of the car and asked the guy why he looked so familiar to her. The guest in the evening dress slowly walked from the car straight toward Chong. The girl touched the guy and said she now remembered. The guest grabbed him by the tie and furiously said he was her ex. The guy stared at the red-haired stranger in shock. He called her Ma Q. He looked at the girl with immense surprise. At that moment, the launch of the plot memories began at the college. Mao was a classmate of Lingen. They met frequently, and the relationship between the guy and the girl was progressing quite well. However, in the end, the Khan and his girlfriend broke up due to a misunderstanding. Not long after, the Khan became friends with Xiao Churan. He broke up with Mao Qiusho immediately. Mao silently stared at the guy. She studied him intently with her eyes. The girl angrily told the guy that he had already forgotten her, and it had been a long time since they last saw each other. Lingen was very annoyed, feeling that the guy did not value his ex-girlfriend. The girl was stunned. She couldn't figure out where the voice in her head was coming from. Mao looked around curiously and decided that it must have been Lingo-kan who spoke. The girl turned to the side and was surprised to find the guy had vanished somewhere. Mao became extremely angry. She couldn't understand where the main character could have hidden. Kan walked up to a guy near a car and asked how much the car cost. The main character thought to himself that yet another main character had appeared. The girl believed the guy was far away from her now, but she still heard a voice in her head, very close by. The main character asked the guy if he wanted to light a cigarette. Kate looked at the girl and thought that she had a good figure, but she still hadn't been sent to the main character's harem. Displeased, Kate thought to himself that first his beloved girlfriend, and now his ex-girlfriend, had both been taken from him. Mao shouted angrily to herself that she could hear everything clearly now. The girl walked up to the guy and, in a stern voice, asked what kind of nonsense he was saying. Kan looked at her in fear and explained that he hadn't said anything. Mao was furious because Lingen was denying her. The girl reminded the guy that he had pursued Xiao Churin, but now he was making her angry. The main character thought there was no point in begging Xiao for a divorce. Kan thought he didn't like girls like Xiao Churin. He would have preferred Mao. The girl looked at the guy in surprise and considered his words. Mao realized that the guy had no idea she could hear his voice. The Khan remained silent. The girl reflected on his words. He had said that she was better than Xiao Churin. Mao sternly asked her companion why he got upset when she asked about Xiao Churin. The girl asked the main character if he really wanted to marry Xiao. KH replied thoughtfully that marriage was a real trap. Mao asked the guy why he still remained a loyal dog for Xiao Churin. The main character thought angrily to himself that he was forced into being faithful to Xiao. Kan believed that because of Xiao Churin, Zhang's hatred level had reached the sky. He would have gladly sent the girl far away. The girl laughed joyfully. She was greatly amused by the main character's words. Kan couldn't understand why the girl was laughing. He decided she must be sick. The girlfriend approached the guy and said that the misunderstanding hadn't been his fault. Mao told him that she was very, very sorry, since he was getting married soon. Kan became very curious. He wanted to go back to a better time. The guy wrapped his arms around the girl and thought that Mao was far better than Xiao Churin. Just then, the car stopped suddenly, and a girl stepped out. The surprised girl overheard the main character saying that Mao was better than her. She glared furiously at the guy, who stood next to the red-haired girl. Churin was furious. Slowly, she called out the main character's name. She looked at him and shouted angrily. Kate stood aside, talking to his girlfriend, unaware that Xiao had come up beside him. Xiao glared at the guy next to the girl and decided to outsmart them. Churin ran up to the guy and cheerfully said she had been looking for him for a long time. The main character was stunned. Xiao fell silent for a moment and gazed at the guy with intense longing. The girl pressed herself close to the main character and called him her fiancé. Xiao placed her hands on his face. He looked at her in surprise. Then, unexpectedly, Xiao hugged the main character and kissed him. Kong was shocked. He couldn't understand what had brought about this sudden change in her. Mao looked straight ahead calmly. She realized that her opponent was using a trick. Mao glanced at the frightened protagonist and told him they would talk at the banquet. She waved her phone at him and said her number hadn't changed. Mao calmly stepped to the side. Xiao turned around and stared at the main character. The dissatisfied girlfriend reached out and grabbed the guy by his clothes. Xiao angrily reminded him that he was a married man, yet he was seeing other women. Chong explained to the girl that her behavior was inappropriate and reminded her that there was no one else around. The main character told the girl that she didn't really want to marry him. Xiao told the guy angrily that he couldn't call off the engagement in front of everyone. Kan sternly asked his girlfriend why she didn't follow her true love. She stated that her true love would be whoever she named. The girl angrily tried to slap the main character. Just then, Zhang came up from behind. The guard looked at the girl and said she appeared sad. Xiao tensed up completely as she continued arguing with her friend. The guard thought to himself that Kan already had Xiao, yet was still chasing after other women. Zhang clenched his fist. He realized it was his duty to save the Churins. The guard angrily said he wanted to crush Kan into the dirt so that Churin would see his true nature. The main character angrily told the girl not to cause a scene in public. Xiao told the guy that they were engaged and that there was nothing unusual about it. Kate told the girl she was angry and needed to calm down. The main character suggested they discuss the divorce later. Kan thought that Zhang Ban would certainly appear during their quarrel. The guy looked at his girlfriend and decided it was best to keep his distance from her. Kate suddenly shouted to the girl that someone had called her and that he wanted to leave. Xiao turned around and said with dissatisfaction that the guy hated her. At that moment, a man approached and greeted the guy. The main character was surprised when he saw his uncle and another older man standing next to him. The man looked at the main character and said he had brought a gift for his uncle. He pointed to the side and introduced Dr. Xiang, who stood beside him. The elderly man adjusted the glasses on his head and smiled as he greeted the main character. Xiao looked at the old man with wide eyes. He seemed familiar to her. The man leaned in and whispered to the protagonist that he could bring Dr. Xiang to treat Mr. Tan. As a result, the Tang Xia and Lingyu families would become the most powerful alliance in the entire country. The main character was filled with worry. He pointed a trembling finger at the old man and said he needed to stop. Kate asked nervously what the doctor's name was, fearing that he might have misheard it. According to the novel's original plot, the doctor whose name the main character had translated for a sick old man was Shan Guan. Soon after, the conmen brought the miracle doctor to Mr. Tan. But Zhang accused the doctor of being a quack and beat him. The main character thought he had sent Ko away only so he wouldn't discover the doctor's miracle treatment. But the doctor unexpectedly reappeared. Kate, feeling dissatisfied, thought the miracle doctor had finally arrived, and realized that the storyline wasn't so easy to change after all. The main character reflected that even if some events in the novel were altered, the core of the plot would still remain intact. A man put his hand on the protagonist's shoulder and asked why he had frozen. He suggested they take the doctor with them. The main character told the man that his stomach hurt and he needed to use the toilet. Kate rushed to the side as fast as he could and shouted at the doctor to wait for him. He stepped out onto the veranda of the banquet hall, standing there with a glass of wine in his hands. Kate muttered to himself slowly and thoughtfully that everything had changed drastically. A girl approached him from the side and asked what he was sighing about. Ma stood beside him and remarked that she had noticed his concern for Xiao Churan. She extended her hand to the guy and said that he and Xiao were not compatible. The main character grabbed her hand, knowing full well that she would eventually become Zhang's lover. Kate looked at the girl and demanded that she let him go, explaining that he was already engaged. He thought to himself that in this novel one couldn't touch beautiful women. They all belonged to the harem of the main male character. Ma looked at him and said the engagement could still be cancelled. The main character grew extremely anxious. He knew that the engagement couldn't simply be broken off. He suspected that this was some sort of test of his willpower. Khan stood still, trying to control himself, wondering why he was so drawn to a girl with such a slim waist. Ma was quite surprised that the guy thought of her that way. She placed her hands on his shoulders and asked him who he liked best. The main character turned his face aside and said that he only liked his fiancée. Kate felt a strong surge of excitement. He couldn't hold back any longer. The girl touched his ear and pointed out that he still hadn't answered her question. The main character, his voice filled with fear, told the girl to behave with dignity. Kate felt a powerful excitement building inside him. He feared that he was no longer behaving like a man. Ma thought to herself that the guy said one thing but clearly thought something entirely different. She laughed cheerfully. The main character stared at her, surprised, and still extremely shy. KH looked to the side, flustered, and noticed Zhang Buin walking nearby. The main character pushed the girl away and declared that even if he were only engaged for a single day, to him she would still be no more than a stranger. KH thought bitterly to himself that he had pushed her away. He simply couldn't hold back anymore. The main character stood and thought that he was destined to always be the scapegoat. He could look but never touch. Zhang stood close by. Ma burst into laughter and told the main character that he was very cute. The main character asked the girl in annoyance whether she took him seriously at all. Kate thought angrily to himself that the novel's heroine didn't take anyone seriously, except for the main character. He glared at the girl and asked why she was laughing at him. Ma giggled joyfully and told her friend that she had just remembered something funny. The guy decided it was best to leave immediately. The main character turned and told the girl he was leaving. The girl behind him looked at him in surprise. Khan opened the door to the room and prepared to enter. Suddenly, the main character heard a noise. He turned to the side and saw Ma sitting on the floor with her leg twisted. She told him she had fallen. The main character froze in fear. He thought it strange that the girl had fallen, yet hadn't moved at all. Kate looked at the girl closely. He couldn't believe that this was the heroine of the novel. The main character turned and looked carefully into the hall where the guests were gathered. Khan squinted and noticed Jang Buin watching him. Ma reached out her hand to the guy and reminded him that he still hadn't helped her up. The girl slyly thought she could make him fall in love with her. The main character told her that since she was wearing high heels, no one would blame her if she had tripped. The guy admitted to himself that he'd made a mistake. He couldn't afford to offend Ma. He was worried the girl might get angry and complain to Jang. Khan realized he was doomed if Jang Buin decided to take revenge for her. The main character clearly understood this. He turned his back on his girlfriend. Ma, annoyed, told the guy that if he didn't help her, she'd get angry, and the consequences would be serious. Khan turned toward the girl, frightened, and tried to calm her down quickly. The main character helped the girl up and told her to be more cautious. Ma leaned in close to the guy and thought to herself that she would never allow Buin to become her lover. The main character asked her if she needed him to call a doctor. KH, accompanied by the girl, began walking toward the exit. He decided to support her while walking. Ma looked at the guy with anticipation and explained that she couldn't walk. She subtly hinted that he should carry her in his arms. She recalled that he had already held her by the waist. The main character became increasingly flustered. He couldn't restrain himself any longer. KH felt her touch again. At that moment, Xiang appeared from behind. Jang suddenly walked up to the main character and put his hand on his shoulder. The main character turned around, surprised, and saw Buin standing there. Jang went over to the girl, grabbed her hand, and shouted at the main character, calling him a nobody. Ma turned to the guy and asked angrily, "Who is he?" Jang pointed at the main character and accused him of tricking Xiao into getting engaged to him. He accused the main character of harassing innocent girls. Khan stood there, stunned. He truly couldn't figure out who he had supposedly harassed. The guests at the banquet turned around in surprise and looked at the girl and the guy standing next to her. From the balcony, Ma turned toward the guests and told them to stop quarreling. Jang pointed his hand at the guy and, in an angry voice, said that he wasn't arguing with him but merely judging him. Jen shouted angrily at the main character, insisting that the girl must find out about his actions. A guy came up from behind and placed his hands on the shoulders of two guests. The stranger asked the guys angrily what their connection was with his younger sister. Ma Jun looked at Jang with an angry, questioning gaze. Khan looked at the guy opposite him with excitement and thought that he remembered. The main character recalled that Jang and Jun had simply made a private agreement. Ma's girl was the daughter of the eldest son of the family, while Jun was the son of the youngest son in the Mao family. According to the plot, they were rivals trying to help their respective fathers become the head of the family business. Jang and Jun had known each other for a long time. When the inheritance struggle began, they entered into a secret pact. Jang proposed that Jun convince CH's father to invest a large sum into a suspicious project called photovoltaics on Mars. Jang told his partner that the project was bound to fail. Before the man could even react, all his uncle's property would fall into Jang's father's hands. At the same time, Bakun had his own motives. When CH's father's investments collapsed, Jang lent him a helping hand and earned his daughter's sympathy. As a result, Mao became one of his mistresses. KH thought deeply. He realized both of these guys were truly despicable. Ma was terrified. She hadn't expected Jun to show up here. Jun gently supported the girl and asked his sister how she was feeling. Ma, visibly distressed, looked at her brother with fear and suspicion. As she glanced at the guy, she suddenly realized it was all his fault. She remembered her father had once mentioned the Mars photovoltaic project. He had invested a huge sum into it. Ma was unsteady on her feet, and her brother helped keep her from falling. She grabbed the guy's hand and said she was dizzy and needed to sit down. Holding a glass of wine, the girl was confused as to how the main character could have found out everything. Ma sat down on a chair and thought that Ling Hukan must have secretly come to take care of her. She began to worry. She believed he hadn't forgotten her. To her, this seemed like true love. Xiang walked up to the main character, grabbed his hand firmly, and angrily demanded that KH leave. He accused him of mocking Mrs. Mao. But Mao turned to the guy with excitement and shouted for him to wait. She yelled at the guard to let the main character go, saying Khan was a true gentleman. Ma looked at the bodyguard and said he was making assumptions without knowing the truth. Xiang glared at the girl furiously but said nothing. The main character, filled with fear, realized he was once again hated. Ma turned to the guy and said her leg hurt. She asked him to take her away. The main character looked at her fearfully and wished she would find someone else instead. Ma warned him that if he dared to refuse, she would scream that he was harassing her. She glanced lightly at her friend. KH told her in a displeased tone that she was very heartless. Ma prepared to leave and told her brother she would judge him after learning the truth. June was stunned. He didn't understand what she meant. In the living room, the main character placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and told her to sit down. Ma did so, and the main character knelt beside her. He thought that the moment he left this place, he would immediately run away. The girl glanced at the guy and realized she wouldn't give them the chance to escape. Mao stretched her legs forward and asked the surprised guy to give her a massage. The girl raised her clothes slightly for comfort. Khan thought that if he touched Mao, Xiang would hate him forever. Ma moved closer to the guy and said it was just a massage. The girl threatened lightly that if he refused, she'd start screaming. She began a countdown showing 3 fingers. Then she counted backward, showing 2 fingers. Finally, Mao raised 1 finger and said they needed to call the others. Khan replied that he completely agreed. He placed his hand on Mao's leg and told her it was time to start. The main character continued gently massaging her leg, removing her shoes. He asked if she was in much pain. Mao responded that he should massage a little more. KH continued stroking her leg. The girl shouted that it was too much. The main character took her leg in his hands and asked if he needed to massage from the inside. Frightened, the girl screamed that he shouldn't go that far. Ma screamed in fear. The guy asked her if he was being fast enough. The girl, breathless with excitement, told him he was doing a very good job and added that Khan was great at massage. Xiang stood outside. He struck a match from a box and handed it to a man. Xiang told his companion that his sister no longer cared about him. He asked what he should do. June looked at him and took a puff of his cigarette. He asked if he really liked his sister that much. June placed a hand on his companion's shoulder and said Ma respects strength and likes powerful men. Xiang asked if Mao and the main character already knew each other. The guy replied that, at the moment, Ling Hukan was already engaged. He had met a girl and remembered his past. June turned around and told his companion not to worry. He needed to go to the restroom. Xiang remained alone under the lantern by the bench, silently watching the man walk away. Xiang stared forward angrily, thinking that every woman around the main character would end up in his hands. A man approached from the side and, after a pause, greeted Xiang. He looked at him in surprise and said he was his uncle's remarkable doctor. He asked Xiang to introduce him to his uncle later. Xiang replied that they were all one family. Xiang happily turned to the side and thought the time had come to bring both the Shou and Tang families under control. Meanwhile, in the banquet hall, guests started panicking. Someone shouted that Grandpa had fainted. People rushed into Mr. Tan's room. Late that night, the frightened guy cried out to his grandfather to wake up. A man checked on the old man and said that his relative's condition was very concerning. He asked Dr. Xiang if he knew what to do. The doctor looked at the patient with a surprised interest. He said he knew exactly what to do. Xiang thoughtfully stated that he would first check the old man's pulse. Chang, however, thought with displeasure that the doctor was a fraud, and as a result, Lin Huhan wouldn't live much longer. The guy, frightened, rushed to his grandfather and shouted that the old man had regained consciousness. He said that he had consulted many doctors about his father's illness, but nothing had helped. Deeply worried, the guy had asked friends and relatives for help. He said that the Tang family would never forget their kindness. June turned to his friend and asked him to figure out a way to help the head of the Tan family. Xiang thought that the guy beside him was a fool. He decided that having such a doctor would not be of any use to him. Xiang looked straight ahead in thought and decided he could once again allow his favor to be used. Baiyun then said aloud that he hadn't yet examined the patient's pulse and couldn't be completely certain. Still, he added that the chance of success was at least 50%. June was overjoyed. He looked at his companion and said he hadn't been mistaken about him. June placed his hand on his friend's shoulder and said that if he cured the patient, he should not forget to mention his name. Then, without wasting time, the guy grabbed Zhang's hand and dragged him along. Suddenly, Baiyun stopped his companion. The guy didn't understand what Zhang wanted from him. Zhang explained that there was no need to rush. They could wait for the right moment to act. June turned and looked at the old man. He asked if it was really the Shurao family who had brought this skilled doctor. Zhang shouted hopefully that Shangan was a famous doctor who might be able to heal his grandfather. Zhang calmly told his companion that the renowned doctor would not be able to cure Grandfather Tan. But together, the two of them could. That way, people around them would view them with admiration. June considered it. He admitted to his companion that there was some wisdom in his words. With great excitement, June shouted to his companion that he had thought everything through. The guest grabbed Shangguan's hand and said that a wonderful doctor was here. June kept his hand on the old man's shoulder and said that this miracle doctor had been recommended by the Shurao family. Looking joyfully at his companions, the guy told them with satisfaction that he had placed his trust in them. The doctor, in a cheerful voice, said that he would now examine the patient. A man quietly approached from the side and coughed, trying to catch the doctor's attention. He came closer, silently looked at the doctor, and pointed to the side, at the main character. Khan grew uneasy. He prepared to run and didn't understand why everyone was talking about him. The man walked up to his grandfather and placed his palm on top of his hand, telling him not to worry. He said the patient should know that Shangguan was the reincarnation of the great ancient physician Huatua. The main character was frightened. He didn't want his elder brother to be so sure. Shangguan placed his hand on the patient's wrist and began checking the pulse. The doctor, in a steady voice, said that this illness was curable. The guy was thrilled. Shangguan said he could cure the disease using the Wang family's imperial heavenly silkworm needle. Zhen thought to himself that the doctor's method, compared to his own divine needle of black smallpox, was sheer nonsense. Shangan confidently grabbed some paper with inscriptions and tossed it aside. The doctor looked down at the patient and asked young Master Ling to come closer. The main character was stunned to be addressed. A surprised girl stood beside him. The doctor asked the guy to assist him. Khan, in a frightened voice, said he had never studied medicine. The main character grew angry. He didn't understand why the doctor wanted to drag him into this. Shangguan adjusted his glasses and said that young Master Ling was just being modest. The doctor turned and asked the guy if he still planned to hide this from everyone. Shangguan declared that young Master Ling had a natural talent for healing. The doctor smiled warmly. The main character noticed with displeasure that Shangguan's eyes were shifting suspiciously. Shangan turned to the side and told the guy to disinfect and hand him the needle. The doctor extended the needle toward the patient. He said headaches are caused by injuries to the neck and back, and the farther the acupuncture points, the better. He explained that selecting the correct energy points through the temporal cavity would help lower the temperature and restore the yang energy flow. Shangguan stood beside the patient and told him which acupuncture points they would use next. Zhang listened quietly from the side. The main character said nothing in response to the doctor's statements. Suddenly, Zhang told the doctor that while he had recited the correct sequence, he lacked the skill and knowledge. Bayun angrily told the doctor that he couldn't even bear to look at him. Shangan pointed his hand at the guy and sternly asked who he thought he was. The doctor turned around and asked Mr. Tun to remove this rude man from the room. The man waved his hand to the side, motioning for Shangguan to be taken out. Xiang sternly told Mr. Tun that he was the only one here capable of saving grandfather. If they threw him out, the old man would lose any hope of recovery. The doctor angrily told the guy that he, personally, was grandfather Tan's only hope. The main character returned to the side, excited. He felt that a conflict was about to begin. Xia excitedly thought to herself that it was time to place a bet. Mao looked at the girl, confused. She didn't understand what kind of bet Xia meant. The doctor pointed at the guy and said he was willing to make a wager with him. Zhang replied that he agreed. The doctor looked at the guy with great anticipation. Shangan told the guy that he should be familiar with the acupuncture method currently being used. Only one needle remained for the patient's recovery. The doctor demanded that the guy kneel before him if he managed to cure the patient. Suddenly, the doctor remembered something else and sharply pointed to the side. Shangan strictly pointed his hand to the side and demanded that Zhang bow to young Master Ling as well. Zhang glared angrily at the doctor and asked what would happen if he failed. The main character stood aside, listening closely to everything. He called out to the doctor in fear. Khan fearfully extended his hand to the side, trying to stop the doctor. Zhang angrily told the doctor that he and the Khan would end up lying at his feet. The main character thought fearfully that he was a loser. According to the script, Dr. Shan had to lose. Khan knew that the details of the bloodletting technique were known only to Zhang Buwan. The doctor had no knowledge of this. The main character believed that the doctor's ignorance only played into Zhang's hands. With tears in his eyes, he thought he would have to kneel before his opponent. Both girls were lost in thought as they discussed bloodletting at the Dowie point. Sternly, the girl thought to herself that she wouldn't allow Zhang Buwan to have his way. The doctor carefully extended the needle toward the patient's head, saying that this was the last injection. The patient regained consciousness and looked straight ahead with a weakening gaze. The guy, overjoyed, shouted that grandfather was able to stand. The old man looked at the doctor and said he was a master of his craft. His headache had eased, and the burning in his chest was gone. The girl happily told the guy that the doctor was truly amazing. The main character listened carefully. Khan recalled that the book mentioned Tanya's grandfather had vomited blood after this procedure, and that gave Zhang a chance to prove himself. Suddenly, the old man felt very ill and quickly brought his hand to his mouth, then began vomiting blood. The guy, frightened, asked what was happening. Zhang looked cheerfully at the people before him and reminded them that no one had believed him. Yuan pointed at the terrified doctor and called him a charlatan. The guy fearfully pleaded with Zhang to help his father quickly. Yuan told the crowd sternly that they were paying the price for trusting a fraud. Zhang pointed toward the main character and said they had put their faith in scoundrels. Then Yuan stepped forward sharply and announced that he had changed his mind. He no longer wanted the guy and the doctor to kneel. Zhang pointed his finger downward and demanded that Khan and the doctor lick his shoes until they shone. The two girls were shocked upon hearing this. Mao shouted to her friend to stop. The girls stood close, holding hands, and remained silent. Xiang was deeply displeased that the main character was still communicating with his ex-girlfriend. At that moment, Xia was watching him from the side. Bawan turned to the girl and said that the main character didn't deserve her. Xiang pointed toward the girl and told the main character that it was because of her that he was being told to lick his shoes. He added that Khan kept going back and forth between two beautiful girls. Someone needed to put him in his place. Mao turned and told Xiang in an irritated voice that she didn't need him. Bawan was taken aback. He hadn't expected those words from her. Xia asked the main character what technique was used when the doctor treated another patient who resembled Tanya's grandfather. Sai excitedly exclaimed that the method was bloodletting at the Dowie point. The girl thought the main character knew everything but kept silent. She then shouted aloud that she saw Mr. Xiang cure the patient. She came forward and told her companions that bloodletting at the Dowie point was the secret final technique. The doctor thought to himself that he could now use this method. Xiang told the old man and the guy that vomiting blood was a normal response. After bloodletting, everything would be fine. Jian thought excitedly that those around him understood this on their own. The guy asked the doctor if everything would be all right. Xiang held a test tube and confidently said that everything would definitely be fine. Suddenly, the patient's eyes sparkled brightly, and he felt a huge surge of strength. The old man looked radiant. He shouted that he felt young again. All his senses were sharpened, and his body was bursting with energy. The grandfather ran to the doctor and declared that the Tang family would be forever grateful to him. Chong was deeply displeased. He couldn't understand how the doctor had discovered his secret technique. The doctor turned toward the guy with anger and reminded him that the loser had to kneel. Xiang pushed the guy in the back and insisted he keep his word and kneel before young master Lingku. Jiang became fearful and nervous when he heard the doctor's demand. Biwan angrily asked the crowd why they had believed the charlatan doctor. Xiang sternly pointed to the side and reminded everyone that he had just healed Grandfather Tan. He didn't appreciate being accused of cheating. Jiang fell silent in fear. The main character turned and looked at the doctor with careful attention. Khan thought with dissatisfaction that all the troubles were falling on him. He just wanted to be left alone. People around were murmuring. Someone said the doctor had told the truth. Jiang reminded himself that he possessed the true knowledge of the divine black pox needle. He couldn't allow himself to bow before the doctor. Jiang became increasingly agitated and furious. He clenched his fists tightly. Biwan looked to the side angrily and resolved to show off his skills. Then people would see he was the true master. Jiang turned his gaze and spotted the girl. He decided not to miss the chance to impress her. Biwan joined his hands together and began to activate his magical powers. A glowing aura appeared around Xiang. People around were astonished. One man remarked that he saw some kind of magic trick. Another man wisely said that Jiang was using the skill of the divine black pox needle. He never thought he'd get to witness it. The main character stared ahead intently. Someone beside him commented that Bawan could control the divine black pox needle with extreme precision. Khan glanced at the man beside him and realized that Jiang was trying to distract them. He just didn't want to kneel. The main character looked sideways at the girls and figured that Bawan was trying to impress them. Khan couldn't understand why the girls were looking at him. They should have been looking at Jiang. Then he looked more closely and saw that Mao had turned away angrily. He also noticed Xia looking forward with clear discontent. Suddenly, Mao rushed to the guy and placed her hand on his face. In a sly voice, she told him that he could go ahead and do it publicly. Xia grew very angry. She stared at the girl in front of her with a deeply displeased expression and called it shameless behavior. Jun appeared to the side. In a measured voice, he said that Jiang's words may have sounded harsh, but Dr. Xiang was older than the guy and wouldn't be angry with him. The doctor turned around and told John that he had to ensure the arrogant young man didn't disgrace his dignity. The guy looked at the doctor with a joyful smile and said he had a great sense of humor. June told both the doctor and the guy not to argue. He reminded them that they had gathered here for the purpose of Grandfather Town's recovery. They all shared the same goal. From the side, the old man suddenly stepped forward and addressed everyone present. Grandfather smiled at his guests and said he wanted to thank them. The main character looked ahead and thought that June deserved to be Jiang's #1 henchman. Jiang glanced to the side and thought that if he lost today, the main character would break his legs. After some reflection, Bashwan exhaled in a calm manner. The guy walked up to the girl and excitedly asked if she was angry. He reminded her that his voice was loud only because he was excited. Xia turned away in displeasure when she heard those words. The girl glared at the guy and said she didn't need any excuses. Jiang was taken aback. He didn't even know how to respond. The guy grabbed the girl by her shoulders and told her that with his abilities, he would make her the richest and most respected woman in China. The main character listened attentively, wanting to hear everything Jiang was saying. Jiang looked seriously at the girl and said he was trying for her sake. He promised to give her a better future. Xia was truly surprised when she heard from the guy that he had tried for her. Jiang excitedly explained that he could cure Grandpa Tan with just 3 needles. The main character kept a close ear on his opponent's conversation. He understood that some girls take passionate speeches too seriously and lose their ability to think clearly. Xia gave it some thought. She realized that all the things Jiang had said in her defense turned out to be lies. In fear, the girl thought that if it weren't for the main character, she might have actually believed him. Jiang extended his hand to his girlfriend. Xia couldn't believe that a stranger would really forgive the guy. The main character, excitedly, thought that he had only gotten engaged to Zhou and never planned to marry her. Khan looked intently at the girl and remembered that she was his bride. The guy reached his hand out to the girl and excitedly asked what was wrong with her. She sternly reminded her companion that she hadn't forgotten. He still had to kneel and lick the winner's shoes. Mr. Villain was shocked after hearing what Xia said to him. Meanwhile, the real villain was in shock. MC asked, "What's going on?" From the back. He asked again, "Big sis, why are you doing this? He's already giving himself a way out. Just follow along. Why are you provoking him?" Hearing MC's comment, Xia looked at him with a killing look. MC fearfully asked, "Why are you looking at me? Instead of me, you should look at Zhang Bei-xing." Xia made Zhang Bei-sung remember his promise, told him, "You said, whoever loses kneels in front of the other. So be a real man and keep your promises." Zhang Bei-sung, furious, tells her, "You want me to kneel down to him?" With a killing intent, he said loudly and to this good-for-nothing, "Are you sure?" MC, holding his current girlfriend's hand, thinks to himself, "It's over. It's over. Is this stupid model malfunctioning? It's trying, even forcing the plot back on track. Isn't it? Does a villain like me, who is like a cannon fodder, does my life even count?" As he was thinking all of this, his girlfriend blushes and speaks in a flustered mind that, as expected, "He still loves me." Xia, angrily looking at MC and her rival holding their hands, thinks that the hand-holding just now was completely subconscious. "Isn't it?" She calls MC. "Ha Ling Hu Hang." Ling Hu Hang looks towards her because of her call. She tells him Zhang Bei-sung has already accepted his loss. "How much longer are you going to let everyone continue to make fun of you? So, come here?" She calls, "Hurry up. Come here." Xia was calling MC to do his job, but on the other side, Zhang Bei-sung, being the delusional punk he is, says to himself, "I see." As expected of the woman Zhang Bei-sung, love, so principled of my reputation. He also thinks and adds she's not angry. She's worried that I'll be laughed at for being a sore loser. The self-proclaimed hero coming forward tells Xia that I understand. You reminded me to accept defeat, simply to make me a righteous man. Xia, confused as we all are, hear him saying, "Xia, you are right. Zhang Bei-sung, will absolutely not let anyone question my character in this matter. Ling Hu Hang, looking at Zhang Bei-sung, up to doing something, frighteningly exclaimed, "What are you going to do, man?" Zhang Bei-xng murmured, "I can't betray Churin's good intentions." Ling Hu Hang, remember, I'm kneeling today because of Churin, not because of you. And with that, he started to kneel. MC, looking at the situation, he exclaimed in fear and told Zhang Bei-sung, "I'm warning you, don't come any closer." Because of the fear, he started hiding behind his girlfriend. He thought, no way, humiliating the protagonist like this, will I even be able to survive? His girlfriend, looking at his courtly state, struck him in his abdomen. She questioned, "What do you take me for, a disaster shelter or something?" And with that high power shot to the belly, he crouched down in pain. Ling Hu Hang told her, "My stomach hurts so much, I need to poo." And with that, he leaves everyone by saying goodbye, eat and drink well, and see you in the bathroom later. At this awkward moment, the system chimed in by announcing Chapter 2 completed. Villain successfully survived. Next is system reward settlement. MC, looking at everyone, tells himself, "How did I survive?" Now the scene takes us to Ling Hu Hang's house. Where he is having a bad dream, he wakes up with a fearful look on his face. The system comes at this moment by saying to him, "Congratulations to the host. In the next 3 days, the host can take a good rest and prepare for the next round of new tasks." MC takes a glass of water and starts drinking to relax his body. He mentioned while relaxing on the sofa, "So, how many points did I get this time?" The system answered his question by saying, "You have earned 100 points for this mission. Your current total points are 2,333 points." MC frustrated exclaimed and said, "Are all systems this stingy? Or is it just you?" Grinding his teeth in front of the system, he spoke, "I endured so much humiliation and swallowed my anger to complete the tasks, and each time I only get just a few points. Do you know that you are totally unreasonable?" He added more complaints by saying, "Do you understand? I could have died in this task. Man, this system has complete rules for point calculation so the host can reset assured. The system relies on him for the score depends entirely on how well you perform and how well you demonstrate your abilities in the task." MC asked again, "So the question is, at my current efficiency, how many more times until I can return to my own world?" The system said to MC that, according to the rules of transmigration, your transmigration channel was generated because you were killed by an advertising billboard on the original world. Therefore, you need to exchange a resurrection item to return to your original world. Ling Hu Hang, glimmering with joy, asked the system, "Resurrection item? With my current points, how many can I exchange for?" The system poured a bucket of cold water on his beautiful dream. "Sorry, host, the resurrection item requires 88,888 points. Your current points are far from enough, so you cannot exchange for this item." With that response, MC loses all his enthusiasm. Ling Hu Hang threw a pillow at the system's face, calling, "Not only you didn't let me exchange the item, and you're also using such a disgusting tone? Get lost." MC frustratingly laughed in his bed and started counting the points using his fingers, so 100 points each time, a lot of 2,300 points, meaning I have to do this over 8,000 times. Then he also made the assumption that he would get only 3 days of rest after each mission before the next starts. 1 plus 3 is 4, 2 plus 3 is 5, so I'd rest just when I die. And with that, he made a gloomy face unrackable to everyone. The system console said to MC, "There are plenty of opportunities in the future. As long as you do your mission well, the corresponding rewards will also increase." Ling Hu Hang, giving systems those no second regards, said, "I'm tired. I don't want to be resurrected anymore." And with that, he lay in the bed of his room, totally giving up on the system's mission. Previously, we saw that MC was frustrated with the system and its stupid missions, so that's why he thought of not fulfilling them and quit the missions given by the system. As a result of his decision, 3 days went by, and MC, due to the difficult rule of the system, reincarnated into another world. Now the scene shifts and takes us to the Linghu family hall, where we can see MC falling dizzy after he reincarnated into a new body. He holds his head in pain. He tells, pointing to the system, "Can't they adjust the teleportation service? It makes me dizzy every time." MC not even getting out of his dizziness. Say someone pointed their finger towards his face and started saying, "Look, everyone, I hang now." Wounded by love, reduced to this state, all because of the Su family. Suddenly, the guy coming forward grabs him and starts shaking him. He also exclaims, "Ahang. Oh, poor Ahang, what are you doing?" MC, not enjoying the situation, tells him to stop shaking me. "I'm going to vomit." At this point, the system comes in with a message that the entire novel has been successfully synchronized. Please cheer up and complete the task with a high score as soon as possible. The system also reminded him that today is the day Linghu Hang, the villain of this book, marries the woman he loves. MC hears about the situation, makes a sour face and comments, "Wow, this time it's an ancient costume drama. What a great surprise." He also thinks that the woman I love is named Su Huining. Our Linghu family and the Su family had agreed on a marriage. Who would have thought that right before the wedding, the Su family would suddenly go back on their word and find her a good-for-nothing, poor excuse for a lovin' son-in-law. And again, nothing surprising to everyone is that the live-in son-in-law is the protagonist of the novel. After the flashback ends, we see MC's rival acting to be in pain because of the cause of MC. Chunched Hitchast and called Ning E. Can you see our Hang's devotion has been completely wasted? The person who was saying all of this was none other than Linghu Hang's second uncle, Linghu Xiang. Linghu Hang's cousin Linghu Tian suggested to MC, "Let's go steal the bride now. What's that idiot boy Ning E doing in your love story? Let's kill him right now." On the other hand, what Linghu Hang's cousin said, Linghu Hang's uncle said to his second brother, "Oh, brother, control your son. You uneducated idiot, what do you mean? Kill him. It's called deal with him. How uncouth." Then Linghu Han's father Linghu Feng answered and commented that our family has been close for generations, Hang, and that the Su family girl has been childhood sweethearts. And originally, a marriage alliance was a joyous occasion. One of his uncles said again, "Elder brother, the Su family broke the agreement first. Why are you sentimental?" He added his thoughts by expressing a thought that there's a saying that you can't force a melon to be a sweet. Since they don't value our family relationship, then from today onwards, our Linghu family need not associate with the Su family any longer. MC, catching up with his family's thoughts and decisions in regards of this marriage situation, thought in his mind in a shocked state. Wait, what did he just say? Break off relations? He says it so early. The Su family will soon be the top one in Tianxian Kingdom's business circle. Ning Yi's future achievements in the Tianxian Kingdom will make merchants all over the country want to kiss his feet. Do you think breaking off the relationship will punish the Su family? You're truly ignorant. As he was thinking all of this, all of his family members heard all of his thoughts, whatever he was thinking. They were truly shocked, to be exact. He again thought in his mind, isn't it just my first love getting married? And the groom isn't me? At the end of the day, it's just a breakup. What's there to be so upset about? He added, I think Ning Yi is a pretty good guy. He is a son-in-law whose family has fallen on hard times. If we hadn't pushed him too hard, would he have gone to such extremes and turned against us? He mentioned that if we keep this up, we'll become the villains. Oh wait, we're already the villains. One of his family members thought to himself, why do I feel like I just heard a terrible scream? Shy and Accord's feelings took over all of them, and at that point, all of them split from their place and started to leave. One family member suggested, why don't we all sit down? Yes, said another family member. So let's talk this out nicely? Linghu Hang's cousin questioned the situation. Why, what's going on? His uncle coughed and muttered, so, should we really forget about it? MC confirming his suggestion said, "You agree to drop it too?" "That's right. Can a kid's affairs even be considered love? Childhood. Sweetheart sounds nice, but it's just an arranged marriage in disguise. Let's be the bigger people and wish them a happy marriage." Wanting to confirm his thoughts, his cousin asked, "Bro, hang on, are you being sincere? There are no outsiders here. You don't have to be strong in front of us." Ling Hu Hang confidently put his hand in his chest, replied, "Of course. I'm sincere. You bro Hang doesn't need to pretend to be strong. I am really strong." Turning around, he suggested, "It's getting late. Everyone wash up and go to bed." MC thinks again in his mind that they should settle this while they are still thinking straight. The more we talk, the more mistakes we'll make. Let's make a run for it. His family members, hearing his inner thoughts, talk to each other. Just now, cousin seems like a different person inside. Another family member chimed in with hi and commented that what we heard just now was indeed Hang's inner voice. Right? Wasn't it? So now we should dismiss the meeting. Let's go. Haven's secrets can't be revealed. Let's not announce it yet. And what should we do? We can hear our son's inner thoughts. It's the question of the century. Now the scene shifts to Ling Hu Hang's bedroom. MC, laughing in joy, finally spoke. "I can rest." But suddenly thinking of something, he thought, something isn't right. Sitting up from the resting posture, he questioned, "Strange, why is the system so quiet today? It doesn't say a word of nonsense after syncing the plot. It used to chatter away." Trying to find the system, he starts calling it. "Moshi Moshi? System? Mr. System, where are you?" After calling for a long time, he got no response. Thinking deeply about the system's state, he thought, "I feel like something's not quite right." In a new day, in a new moment, we come to see Ling Hu Tian's courtyard. At the moment, we see a woman commenting towards Ling Hu Hang's cousin. "Oh, don't you see what time it is? The teacher has been waiting for you in the study room for a long time." As she was pulling him in order to come to the study room and do his daily study work, the cousin replied, "I don't want to." The woman was none other than his stepmom and Ling Hu Xiang's wife, Qin Ye. He mockingly said to the woman, "Study? Study? What's there to study? Only those families living in shabby houses by the overpass need their children to study to get ahead." The cousin boldly declared, "I am the second young master of the Ling Hu family. I was born superior to others. Why should I read books?" The woman commented, "That's not how it is. Tianer, you're all grown up. You need to learn the writing of the sages so you won't be laughed at." He giving a little thought to her suggestion, he said, all right, I can't argue with you. Anyway, whoever wants to read this crap can read it. I won't read it till old age. You can beg till old age." After the conversation, we come to Ling Hu Hang's living room. Again, we see him sleeping in a chill mode without any care for the world. When he was in deep sleep, his cousin knocked on his door. "Open up. Cousin, open up." Hearing someone calling him loudly, he wakes up with a disgusted face and comments, "Young man, can you have some basic morality? Disturbing people's dreams early in the morning. What's the difference between this and digging up someone's ancestral grave?" The moment he opened the room door, the cousin rushed inside at lightning speed. He also told Ling Hu Hang, "Which ancestral grave I dig up of yours? We share the same ancestral grave anyway." He adds a question to MC, "Brother, are you still sleeping? Do you know that you're now the laughingstock of the entire Sanjo? How can you sleep?" MC, giving his comments no second thoughts, lay face flat in his bed. Seeing his state, the cousin told him, "The rumors going around are really nasty. Some say you're trash discarded by the Su family, that Su Huining would rather have a lowly live-in son-in-law than you because you're a playboy. Others say you're horrifically ugly and don't bathe for 10 days. He listens to his cousin's mocking words and thinks to himself, "I might get made fun of. But you're different." The dignified second young master of the Lingyi family, who is also quite handsome, is sadly spoiled rotten by his parents. He knows nothing but eating, drinking, and having fun. No wonder he died the most miserable death after the Linghu family collapsed. His thoughts, all of that had been heard by his cousin in a shocked state. Linghu Hang also thought to himself, what's worse is this kid was ultimately stripped naked by the scholars Ha looked down upon, thrown into a manure pit, and drowned alive there. I also remember when he was pulled out, his mouth and nose were full of excrement. It smelled horrible. After that incident, some people even clapped and cheered, saying that illiterates who looked down on scholars deserve this end. It was truly tragic. There's no saving him. MC even made a crying face after that comment. Breaking the silence, he told his cousin by saying the people can say whatever they want outside, but I'm going to sleep so you can scram now. Go wherever you want to have fun. Okay? The cousin, getting stupidly angry, exclaimed, play what? I've decided I'm going to study diligently from now on. MC thought about his sudden comment. What has gotten into him all of a sudden? Did he hit his head this morning? The cousin cried, telling MC again that I've decided that from today on, I'll study hard, read until the book falls apart, read them through, then take the imperial exam, win the first place and ride a horse through the street. And I want to make all the other scholars admire me so much that they fall to me ground in awe. Time went by. MC realized that it was so late in the day. He thought the system still hadn't given any instructions. It's really strange. He doesn't tell me my task. Don't even reply to my message. Is he going to let me die randomly? But if I just wait like this, the system will judge me for inaction and deduct my points. No, let's just follow the original plot of the novel first. As he was thinking about his further ado, someone started calling him from the outside. Young master, the Su family has sent an invitation. MC, going close to the person, asked, where is the invitation? The person replied that a young lady from the Su family personally came to deliver the invitation, inviting you to dine at Xiang restaurant. And master asked me to ask for your opinion. If you don't want to go, I will send her away directly. M, putting his hand on his chin, started pondering. A young lady from the Su family? If it wee Su whining, you would have just said it was her. But which other young lady from the Su family would come looking for me? The servant fearfully answered, this servant doesn't know, sir. Linghu Hang, waving his hand, said, forgot it. I'll go there myself. MC, coming on the back of that person, came to be sure of that it was not Su whining. He asked himself, if it's not her, then who in the Su family is it? Standing confidently, he greeted the guest. I heard that you came to invite me to have a gathering at Zuixinlu. I wonder why. When the girl looked at him, she was shocked seeing him. Even Lingui Hang was in the same state. And at the moment she and he both exclaimed in shock, why is it you? You also got into the story.